guys, welcome to Jammin and Jammies, the podcast. I'm Megan Barker. We are sitting down with some of our favorite music creators and industry leaders. We're going to find out how they got where they are and get valuable insights into the music world. You can watch the interviews online or stream the podcast. Just check out jamminandjammies.com for all your jammy needs. Today, we're sitting down with my buddy, Troy Castellano. Troy is an artist, a songwriter, and a producer here in Nashville. He's had placements on CMT, MTV, TLC, and all kinds of other major networks. He also started an organization called Instruments for Education, which is dear to my heart. Their mission is to collect and distribute musical instruments and put them into classrooms, giving teachers and students a hands-on way to learn about music. So I'm so pumped to talk about all the things. Troy, thanks for being here. How you doing?
Hey, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for sure.
Thanks for being here, man. I really am. Well, I'm passionate about instruments for education, but let's start at the beginning. Where are you from and how did you get into music?
I am originally from Minnesota. Yep, the Great White North, where I love it down here now. But I I grew up there. Most of my, spent most of my adult life working a day job, playing in a weekend rock and roll band,
Yeah.
and I was always writing songs. From the first time I got a guitar at like 8 years old, maybe about 10 years old, I learned some chords and um, made up my own little stupid songs that nobody ever would hear.
Oh,
And and then as I grew through my teenage years and into my early 20s, it was like getting into a band and playing all your favorite songs. And then it
yeah.
was like, so that was like a lot of that was the late 80s, early 90s. And it was like all the hair rock stuff. So we were playing a lot of that.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but then, the short version is basically about 2012. Well, there's something I'll just interject. This is like whatever I wrote and put out on my own. I usually recorded, played all the instruments, or had a couple members in the band play, and it never was really that good. And that's to be expected as you're doing it. But I was trying to be a rocker, and it just never came out that way. And then about 2005 or six, I bought a CD, Keith Urban CD from a
Yeah.
garage sale, and I'm like, they're calling this country. This okay? This is maybe somewhere where I fit. And we were actually playing "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy," so I had that "Horse of a Different Color" CD. I'm like, these guys rock. This is not 90s, 80s,
Right.
or 70s country. And I felt like I fit in there. So that's 2006 throughout, up until 2012. It was like finally I took a workshop at Barbara Cloyd's workshop
Yeah.
at the Bluebird, and that was my first introduction to Nashville. If it was Hate Ashbury days during the '69 peace and love years, the camaraderie and the whole vibe here was like that for songwriters. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god, you do this, you do that, we do. Oh, so, all this in common. I was just like overwhelmed, and I went back home to my wife after that workshop. And, well, if you're familiar with the workshop, you get to play songs for publishers, reputable publishers.
Right.
And I asked them all, do I have to be here? And at that time, they're like, yeah, man, you should be here. If this is what you want to do, and it sounds like
Right.
you're right on track with your music, you should be here. So I went home and told my wife that my heart's screaming to be in Nashville. I'm this deep, neck deep into uh, domestic life with 3 kids, middle of adult life. I have what I call a midlife revelation, not a crisis.
Love that. Snaps. Snaps. I love that.
Yeah, and it was, thank you. And it was like, so I went back home and told my wife, my heart's screaming to me in Nashville. Do you think we could ever make that work? And she said, well, what's the weather like? And I said, well, I'm looking online here. It says like 55 degrees during the winter. And it was sub-zero. It was January when we were talking about this. And so that following
Um,
year, we took a vacation here with the family, and I kind of drove some of the back roads around Franklin and around the city and Music Row and all that stuff. And she, luckily, because it wouldn't have happened if she didn't say, let's go.
yeah.
I had this
Yeah.
motto, and it's not something I wrote, but this quote: we're not trees, we can move.
Oh, I
you
love
know
that.
and I'm like, that's what I told my wife, what's the worst thing, about this. Part of the story was like pulling our kids out everything they know and their
Of
friends in their
course.
school.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's just for anybody moving, man, if you can and you're dying to do it, just take the risk, because home is home is where your heart is, obviously, but everything you left will be there. It'll
Yeah.
always be there. You can go if it don't work out or you're dissatisfied, you can go home. So that's what we did. We predicated the whole trip on, if we don't like it, we can come home.
Yeah. But it was so worth it, right? Moving
Yeah.
here, everybody. Yeah.
Well,
So
in
worth it.
Minnesota, if you know any friends from there, if you've been up there, you literally can have snow from Halloween to Mother's Day. That's 6 months of your
A
life
lot.
where the driving sucks, where you got to clear snow. You got, like, literally a lot of the quality of life is better down here, as far as
Weather
not
and
such a
yeah.
closed or
Maybe
cold
some
winter.
maybe some people live for plowing
Yeah,
snow. I don't know.
my sister's that way. She just
Really?
loved winters. I mean, I skied, skated, I played hockey. I had snowmobiles. I guess I was just done. I did
You were
that.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nashville was calling. Well, okay. Then tell us about your first year in Nashville. What did it look like?
My first year, so we rented a house in Spring Hill, and I basically met with a group of guys that were starting a publishing company. So I had wrote one song on Music Row that first month, and I kind of was I'm backtracking a little bit, but I was kind of like being a fly in the wall, not looking to play yet, just going and seeing people at the Commodore, maybe at the Bluebird if I could get a ticket, or Douglas Corner, wherever people were playing, just see, how I compare. Do I even dare try to get into this?
Right.
And um, then I got with this group that was starting a publishing company, and they basically said they listened to the stuff that I was doing, and they're like, "Hey, man, yeah, we'd love you to come write with us." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what's the deal?" They were going to have profit sharing and all this great stuff, and I'm like, "All right, get the paperwork together." And I'm not dogging them, but it did turn a little south because I don't think they were ready. And then I had some
Oh,
song that was floating around Music Row. Everybody was hearing, and I said, we don't have any paperwork. I need to know what our deal here is, because this song may get
yeah.
picked up. And they're like, well, we get all of your publishing. I'm like, for
Woo!
yeah, for what? You don't even have a song plugger, and I'm pitching this myself. And basically there was no pay. They're basically giving me a light and a chair. And I brought a lot of people in there. I just felt, they were
Yeah.
good guys, and some of them I still know. But at that point I said, I just need you to purge my catalog, and they did. So,
That's
you know,
great. I think that's part of a lot of people's Nashville story, though, is you kind of have to kiss some frogs before
that's a good way to put it.
you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah,
So
for
that
sure.
sounds like a rite of passage, honestly.
And then kind of close out that year. That was really cool and great experience. I met a lot of people, and um, after that first year ended, our rent was being raised, and we rented to make sure we were going to be here. We're going to stay here. And then at the end of that year, we bought a house in Columbia, and we were able to keep our kids in the same school from that first move. They went to
Oh,
Spring
that's
Hill.
nice.
So yeah, and then we've made a life here ever since, and doing what us writers do is like write, chase, hoping for a
That's
big
right.
cut, and making new friends, and just always like admiring the hearts of songwriters around here, with all of the stuff we have to put up negatively.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it takes it's not even couch. You just gotta have that mindset. Like, I'm just gonna do what I do. If people latch on and like it, there's room.
Yeah.
Get on.
Well, you've done really well for yourself. So you've been here. How long have you been here? 10 years?
It'll be 9 years in July.
9 years, almost 10
Yeah.
years. And I don't even know how many cuts you have, but you've got a whole bunch listed on your website. So you're always writing, you're always working on something. How do people meet co-writers when they first get here?
Man, for me, it was okay. The couple in that group. Oh, here's a quick funny story. Is a friend of mine from Minnesota. I just moved there a month later. he calls and says, "Hey, you got to meet my friend Angie. She lives down there and she's writing songs, and she actually worked for CAA at the time, and so we got together and write, and that this was at that office that became the publisher, and I said, "So where are you from, Angie?" She goes, "North Branch, Minnesota." I go, "Are you kidding me? That is the town I just moved here from."
What a
So
small world.
what a serendipitous moment, I guess, is what you'd say. But and then it was met them few people at that office and started writing. But I think the major way to network is just going to the songwriter sounds and listening to the writers. Do you like what they do? Does it, is it something that can you two together can make something better? The whole thing. It's like you get two melody guys in a room, and they're not lyric guys. That's not a right fit, because you got to
Right.
have somebody pushing that whole thing to make it better.
Yeah.
So that was it. And then just going up and saying, "Hey, Troy Castellano, pleasure to meet you. Really like what you're doing." And I generally don't say we should write. I'll just go, "Here, I got some stuff on my website. If you like it and you feel compelled, like, or maybe we should write that.
Yeah.
I'm here."
That's the way to do it. Don't pressure people, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, just be cool.
And we still get it to this day. People come up, "We should write sometime," and I'm
I
like,
know.
"I don't even know you." I mean, I get that's how you learn to have the proper etiquette, but
Well, I think a lot too, and from all the people that I've met and the conversations that I've had here, it seems a theme is that, your first year or two here, you do just right with everyone. You just say yes to everything and you grind it
yeah,
out a little bit. And then, you start making connections and making friends and meeting people in your schedule. You got to be a little bit pickier. So it's like, somebody that we just had on, they were saying they don't ask people to write immediately. They ask for coffee. And I'm like, that's a great idea. Ask somebody to just grab a coffee and make sure you vibe before you guys, kind of
yeah,
jump into dating basically. So I think that's cool. Be cool, I think is
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm sure
Yeah.
I did it a time or two at first. We
Oh
should
no,
write.
at
Yeah,
first, yeah, but I'm saying as you got more successful and a little busier, I'm sure it's like, oh, you got to be careful with your
yeah.
time,
And it was also kind of weird, like a weird dynamic that, hey, you think that I had a publishing deal. It was kind of, but it really wasn't set in
Yeah.
stone. And then
Yeah.
everybody's like, "We should. He's got a pub deal. He's got a pub deal." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Got nothing going on over here. I don't know what the excitement is, but
It, well, and that's something I think that people learn after a couple of years too is like a publishing deal can mean so many things. Like everybody's deal is different, So yeah, that's funny.
yeah."
But
So
yeah, but just being able to say a publishing deal accounts for a lot of excitement and attention.
can I add to that story about coming here? There's one thing I want
Oh
to say
yeah.
that was really a blessing. Was there's a producer that lives down this way. He's in Paytonsville or Franklin, but before I moved here, his name's Joe West. He's a
Oh
he's
yeah,
a
we know
producer.
Joe.
You know Joe. So
Yeah.
he did a webinar on some plugins for recording. At the end of that, he says, "Hey, here's my email. Reach out to me if you want to, if you have any questions about today." And I reached out and said, "Hey, man, I'm coming to Nashville. I've never been there. I don't really know anybody. I'll be there in a month. Just wondering if you got time for a coffee, you know?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Dude, uh, just come over to the studio. We'll talk studio and songwriting." So
It's
he didn't know
awesome.
me from Adam, that he just said, "Sure." So I went and met him, and we chatted for a good half an hour, and he had some number ones, and he goes, "Well, what do you want to do here?" I said, "Well," I looked around his room, "What you're doing,
Yeah.
like I want to
Yeah.
have some hit songs and maybe have a studio that I can, cut songs and whatever." But
Yeah.
that was a big opening for me, and I'm really I sincerely appreciate him. He didn't know me, and then I played him one song, and he goes, "Yeah, man, that's on radio right now." And the question for him, should I be here? He says, "If you can do it, come here." And we've been
Yeah.
friends ever since. So
Dude, that's so cool. I love when you hear good stories about good
yeah,
people because honestly, guys, like most stories in Nashville are full of good people. Nashville's full of good people, and And you're right, he didn't have to do that, but good on you for asking. I feel like half the battle is just asking for what you want. Do you
Yeah.
agree? You know,
Yeah.
just ask him for coffee. Like you're never gonna get to talk to him if you don't approach him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not, yeah, that's one thing. I'm sure there's a lot of people that hesitate to, they don't want to impose on people,
Yeah. But
but
there's a way to be cool about it. And you were cool about it. You were like, hey man, like, can I buy you
yeah.
a coffee? Like everybody likes coffee.
Yep. And like you said, it's a great just way to see if you click and what their aspirations are. Do they match what yours
Right.
are?
Right. Right. But good for you, man. That's awesome. And
Thanks.
good for Joe. We love Joe.
Yeah.
You have a lot of female co-writers, a lot of female cuts. Let's talk about why is it important for you to support women in country music right now?
I, that seems to be who reaches to me the most. And I think that too, because I see that a lot. I think there's very much a displacement. There's just more girls here trying to do. I could be wrong, but I think that's the case. There's
A lot of
more,
females right now trying to break.
yeah, or yeah, getting into this. And I think maybe sometimes guys are a little bit too not sure what the word is, maybe a little too stubborn to, ask somebody. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm
But
looking at my wall here. Yeah, I put the cuts that I have their CD or their artwork on the wall, like we all do. But yeah, you're probably right. It's two
yeah.
thirds.
And you know what? I mean, I think Paul Worley's known for working with females and it really is a totally different thing. I I don't know about writing for female, but producing female is definitely totally different, vocally. And I just really
Yeah,
think that there's an art to it and it really is different. So I think it's
yeah, and
cool.
there's so much talent, and I totally
There
believe
is,
this.
yeah.
Like, everybody, all of us, I think, understand this, that women need that opportunity just as much as the men. Like
Yeah.
they have their life is as viable as yours is. A guy artist versus a girl artist. It's you can't lock them out. There's too
Yeah.
much to say. And sometimes, for sure, guys learn from their perspective, especially when we're writing songs, because, us guys might be thinking a little bit more shallower about the situation they're trying to convey. And you hear it from the heart from the person who's trying to say it is like, all right, let's shape that into something magical.
Yeah. Yeah. Give everyone a seat at the table. I want to hear the story from everyone's perspective. I love
Yeah.
that.
And
That's
I
awesome.
try to do that with the round opportunities that I get. If it's if I'm all about, like, if I can, of course I'm trying to get ahead, but I'm all about paying back. So somebody gave me the
Totally.
opportunity to play the listening room, and I get that opportunity to book
That's right.
around, I'm doing that.
That's right.
It was the same for the Bluebird. This guy helped me. I'm going to do what I can for the next person who didn't get that
That's right.
opportunity.
It's not
Yeah.
hard to just keep good people in the back of your mind. It's really not that hard. And when something comes along and you think, and they pop into your head, oh, this would be a great opportunity for so and so.
Yeah.
It's just, we wouldn't be anywhere if somebody didn't help us along the way.
Right. Any of us, for that
Any of
matter,
us.
for sure.
Nobody really, truly, you could be so talented like you. You're an artist, a writer, producer, you do all these things, but still, you can't do everything on your own. We need each
Yeah.
other. So
I'm
I love
trying, and
that.
it's and the producing, it's like I'm kind of I mean, producing is like the thorn in my side. You got to do it. First of all, I only did it so I didn't have to pay for it.
Right? I feel
And
that. Yeah.
now I have actually done a couple songs outside where I'm like, man, that's so much easier and faster
Right.
than me doing it. And I'm kind of I'm okay. I'm not really the greatest producer. I'm always learning and trying.
Well,
Um,
every good producer is constantly learning and working
yeah,
on it. So I think if you have the skill, you should own it. I think it's amazing. It's impressive.
yeah. It's a necessary evil for me now. Right now, I would love, like we all would love, you get some capital from a successful song. That's
Right?
going right into everything else. And that's probably, that's just reinvesting in the business. And I don't know if I, at this point, would reinvest in more gear or any of that. I think I would
Yeah.
just be like, let's go with this team. There's the musicians in this town still blow my mind. I'm like,
I
You just
know.
heard that work tape with all the mistakes in there, and this is what you did. I'm
Right.
like,
I
oh.
know.
And then you hear the guy in the background or the bass guy going, yeah, I gotta be done by 3. I got a session with Joe Bonamassa. I'm like, what?
I know.
Huh? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, Joe. Yeah, cool. Tell him I said hi, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard to know where to put your money. There's so many things in music, especially I'm an artist and I write for other people and I record at home and I'm always trying to do videos and content and it's so much to keep up with. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm really bad at the TikTok, all of that stuff because there's so many things that you have to focus on, so many things you could put money into and it's like I think about that a lot. I'm like, okay, if I had a big song that cut me a nice check, what would I wouldn't know where to put it. There's so many things. And I'd have to fight the urge to just go buy boots and guitars because that's
Yeah, for
my
sure. The
favorite thing.
guitars.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we could chat all day, but I want to talk about instruments for education because I think it's amazing. Tell everyone exactly what it is and how it came to be.
Instruments for Education is a nonprofit that collects and donates instruments in the Middle Tennessee area. We donate to students, teachers, and schools, which, K through 12. Whoever requests those instruments, if we have it in inventory, we will deliver it. And it started in 2018. Part of it was like that comes from that first year of being here, asking people, "Hey, can you introduce me to so and so? Can you play my song for them?" No, all of this like improper way to go about it. I'm always taking it, and when I meet someone, I'm asking, "Can you help me? How do you know that guy?" Like, and learning from that.
Yeah.
Well, about 2018, a songwriter friend said, "Hey, do you got a keyboard that I could borrow? My husband's a teacher, and he wants one for his classroom." And I said, well, can't you just get one from the music room? And like, no, none of them instruments can go into the classrooms. The teachers can't take them. So I borrowed him. I gave to him a Casio keyboard, fully functioning, and he sent me back a video of him. I can't use the video too, and this happens a lot because the kids in the pictures and parents don't want it on the internet. But the initial video that sparked this was him sending me a video of him teaching the kids. It's a 5th grade class, so 10-year-olds, the phases of the moon to the melody of Blue Moon. They all wrote the
Oh,
lyrics. They learned the science, and they learned the science by writing the lyrics. And then they were all singing, arm in arm like a kumbaya moment. And
oh,
he was telling them, "Oh, quiet down, don't get so excited." They were so into it. I just went and looked. I said, that guy's getting through. And my kids at that time were 15, 14, 15, 16, right around there. And I just watched them just be absorbed by screens, whether it was Netflix or your iPhone or YouTube or Xbox, any of that stuff. And I thought, that teacher's getting through. I see enough dusty instruments in writing rooms or people's homes. And I thought, I'll start asking if I'm at a right and I see a guitar that don't get used. Hey, you using that? If I could get that into a student, teacher, or classroom, would you donate it to me? And everybody said yes. So the first 10 went out with any formal, I did have a name, Instruments for Education. And then shortly after that filed the full 501c3. And it's just me running it right now. I'm working we don't get enough funding to get to hire people yet.
right.
So, but there's a bunch of aspects to this, but I'll back up. It's like, so 2018, we started. By the end of that year, I think it was like 65 instruments were donated. The next year, it was 100 and some. Then we lost some time in there with COVID. But since 2018, we've donated up till today about 560 instruments. It is really,
That's amazing. That's a
it is.
huge number.
It really is. And it's like, so that's an average of 100 a year. And
That's
that,
incredible.
we donate 10 ukuleles at a time. We donate, just one couple weeks ago, it was like 35 electric guitars. And I'm blessed to have, you know, other organizations that they do things like team building. So for the corporation will come to town here and they have their 3 weeks of training, and then they have a little fun event called team building, and they put the groups into tables of 10, and there can be anywhere from 50 to 500 people in these builds, and they
Yeah.
build a kit guitar, and then they get donated to veterans, they get donated to handicapped, they get or disabled, I should say, and they get donated to me, which goes in the hands of students. So like last week we got into the inventory about 35 guitars, electric guitars, and then it's been solvent that way,
Yeah.
but there are times when people reach out for things that we don't get donated a lot, is ukulele or brass and woodwind.
Yeah.
So we purchase when we can too. It's like, hey, we've got enough budget here to purchase the xylophone or the ukulele or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so our big push right now is to, I'm just looking for a grant writer to that can do it on a commission, part of that percentage of a grant. And this is part of this is me, like the growth. I'm a little stifled because I'm more of a creative than a technical. And
Feel that.
when you fill out grant requests for through the government or through private foundations, they're almost like a 50-page
Oh, I'm
business
sure.
loan.
Right.
And I feel like I keep missing those because I'm just not
Right.
describing in detail what they're looking for. So I need a professional on that level.
Yeah.
Because the next stretch would be, we do Middle Tennessee, so we do like 70 miles. I'll go up to 100 too if I can get a couple stops out that way between around Nashville. And the goal is to get an office in Knoxville, Chattanooga, and Memphis to cover the whole state. But
Wow.
the challenge is the people that are going to be doing what I'm doing there can't do it for free.
Right. Right.
So, and I didn't realize that too. I'm a little green. I got to admit that I didn't realize nonprofit would be a lot of fundraising or trying to
Right.
get funds to grow. And I was just thinking about the give back part.
Yeah. The yin and the yang of it. Right.
Yeah. One point maybe, Keith Urban donated 8 guitars to us. I didn't get to meet him, but I was hoping that I could, to explain a little bit more of what we do. And if they're, somebody in that kind of position, if they even tweeted about it, you're just going to get that
Oh,
much awareness,
it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was my next question, was what's next? But that seems like you kind of already answered that. You're working on grants and just keep spreading the word. In the meantime, you guys do accept just cash donations, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How do people donate?
They can donate through instrumentsforeducation.org. There's a monetary donation tab, and there's instrument donation tab, and then there's also same thing for student request or teacher request.
So everything's all there. That's perfect. So
Yeah.
if somebody is watching right now or listening and they have an old guitar in their basement, what are the qualifications, like?
Well, just for the instrument itself.
Yeah.
Just
No
as long.
holes. Come on, guys. No
Right.
holes.
As long as they're playable.
Okay.
There's a few that sometimes, I get an amount that's from those guitar building shows. Some of the manufacturing is just bad on it. And
Right.
so there's probably, out of those donations, there's probably a 3% that aren't usable. Even
But for the
some of the
most part, yeah.
what makes them qualify is that they're definitely usable or repairable.
Yeah. Okay.
I do a
So,
lot of the repairs and setup myself here at matter of fact, this weekend I got to set up all these guitars for a delivery next week.
wow,
So
that's amazing that you're doing all this yourself, man. And guys, on that note, I mean, if you have an instrument, just guitar, ukuleles, you were talking about, any kind of instrument really, that you're not using, donate it to them. But also, you could do a cash donation or just share,
yeah,
an Instagram post, or, if you wanted to make like a full TikTok about this, if anybody feels called to do so, I feel like that would be super helpful too, to spread the word.
thank you. Yeah, that's really what it's about, just raising awareness, because most of the people are like, well, I didn't even know this existed. I actually stopped into a school. The person wanted me to deliver at their home, but they put school address, so I go in there, and so they didn't know anything about it. And then a little while later, I start getting requests from the teachers in that school. I'm like, see if they only knew. But also, this is the tricky thing: is I got to manage the inventory, because I can get
Right.
depleted like quickly
I'm sure.
and
Yeah.
not have anything on the shelf to donate, you know?
Well, this seems like something too that I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like you're always going to need instruments because even if you supplied everyone in Middle Tennessee, next year they're going to need more because they get old, they get broken. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's probably an ongoing fiasco for you.
Yeah. And other thing we do to raise money is like auctions. Sometimes, like one of the Keith Urban guitars, his office said it's okay to auction one of them, and that one was a tour guitar that had his himself on the back. All graphically really cool. The back of the guitar said "Defying Gravity Tour 2011."
That's
Yeah,
cool.
and
That's my
so
favorite album of his. I love that one.
is it? That was like
Oh,
that raised like $1,600. We got this guitar now that was donated last year. I've been sitting on it, waiting to figure out how we can get the most, funding out of it. It's a guitar that was in the tornado, found in the debris, that is signed by Carrie Underwood and Billy Currington from the 2010 Play On tour,
oh wow.
or play on. Yeah, I think that was it. But that was in one of the drop bins. Someone donated it with a note that said, "Hey, we found this in the debris of the tornado, and
Wow.
we put it all out on social media. Is this yours? Claim it. We got your guitar." They did it for a few months and nobody responded, so they donated it.
Wow, that's
So
insane.
there's two cool stories with that.
That's amazing. Well,
Literally, yeah.
where do you do the auction? How do the auctions work?
Well, there's one, and I it's charityauctions.org. I do believe they don't take any fees,
Okay.
um, and any of those other sites like eBay are just too much of a,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
There's just too many nefarious people on there trying to
Yeah.
scam.
Well, you
Whatever,
guys, you guys, you and your team, you have put
yeah.
together some great shows. Do you do auctions at live shows? Have you done that?
No, we did a fund. We did do, if you remember, I started doing them at the listening room. We
Right.
did two, and then that was like a little crazy because I was like, we're just going to do one song each, four up in a chair, 20 people through the 2 hours. It was a little bit maddening but
I
we had
remember
cool,
I got to be there and it was really fun.
yeah. And did you play one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And we got Charles Eston to come and do one.
Yeah.
That was through Jane Bach, which I really appreciated. But I think, and then now that I had these, so we did that a couple years, then the pandemic hit, and then it was like I had to get back into this because this is what I really want to do. We got to keep instruments for education going. We can get back in the schools now, and the health problems I was having last year were just like I could not bring on such a big event
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And so we did a couple small ones the last two Christmases at McNamara's Irish Pub, which, and there's other things in the works. We're going to be growing into bigger and better events, or more, more space. And then also kind of like, we want to do streaming where if you're not here, you pay $5, you can get the feed.
Yeah. I love
And,
that.
and with more hit writers where, I think it's very important that when people do pay. I mean, this is how I feel. It's like just like when you bring an artist into your round that the people know some of their songs. It's such a great experience for the fans,
Yeah.
and they'll come,
Absolutely.
yeah, and they'll hopefully come back or donate. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I mean, here at Jammin and Jammies, we are 10 out of 10 for the hit songwriter experience. I totally get it. It's
yeah, that,
special.
and you're
It's
doing these at,
magic.
yeah, and you're doing these at the City Winery now. That's really cool too. What a great
We
venue.
Yeah, we did. We just did a great run of shows at City Winery, and we're gonna. Well, you guys just stay tuned for what's next. But it's
Yeah,
it's great. But you know what? Let me know how Jammin and Jammies can help. Maybe we can work something out together this year. I'm just gonna throw
yeah,
that out there, guys. Maybe we can collab and make some magic happen.
that would be cool. And
Yeah,
there are a couple team members. Jeff McMahon helps with some of the
I
media.
love Jeff.
I hasn't lately because I've just been back into this doing it on my own time. That's the other thing. I hate uh, to impose on people. So he's the media guy that's actually on the board. And then my wife, who's an accountant, she's the money person on the board. And then another Jane Blakesley, actually a high school friend of mine that lives down here. She helps with our organization too when we throw events. But I
That's
feel
awesome.
like I always feel the same way. I'm sure we all do, but I can't pay them, so I hate to ask them to
I
take time
know.
out of their day. You know, not very. I don't want to do that very often until we
I
actually,
know.
yeah,
Well, I really think it's super special what you're doing. And obviously people are excited to help. People are excited to help for free. So
thank,
keep
thank
keep
you.
doing what you're doing and let us know if there's ever anything we can do to help. We'll keep
Yeah,
spreading the word.
that's it. And maybe we do something together with Jammin and Jammies where we do maybe
Yeah.
a fundraiser night for that too.
I would love that. You guys heard it here first. This is where the idea was born.
Yeah, and this is how it happens. It's just
Yeah.
organically. You meet people and they go, "Hey, I've got this thing that may be able to help your organization,
Yeah.
whether it's ours or an event." That's how it works.
And well, and I feel like we've come full circle in our conversation now because it's all about just meeting people in Nashville, in the music world, in life. Like just doing cool things. You got to just meet people and talk to people, sit down and have conversations like this and
Yeah,
just see what happens. Yeah.
make yourself available. Be available.
I love that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just be open. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could talk to you all day, but this feels like a really good place to wrap it up. So
All
I
right.
really appreciate you coming on here and talking to me about
Thanks for
everything.
thanks for asking me, and I admire what you do as well. It's like
Oh,
I maybe I'm not always commenting or things, but it's like we see each other and are aware of what's going on, and
I
you know,
appreciate that. Likewise, the algorithm
and
is trash.
and you can tell the people and their tenacity. Like it's what we the heart. I mean, the songwriting, heartbreaking part of it is tough, but man, I think this is something I feel in the last few years too. Is like once you're jaded enough to not need any reward out of it anymore. I shouldn't even say jaded, but once you're at a point where you're not looking for any reward out of it, you're just doing what you do. That's the place to be for success because
Do it because you love it. You're not
exactly. Yeah.
itching for a publishing deal or itching for any kind of validation or cut. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I've mentioned this a few times probably on here now because it was so true, but like I was really burnt out in 2019 and I was really on to cool things and obviously really kind of crushed when COVID slowed all
Yeah.
of that down. But in a way, obviously COVID was a blessing because I got to just step back and I've never appreciated making music more this last year since things have opened back up because I missed it so much.
Yeah.
So
And just
anyway,
just hanging out with your friends outside
yeah,
the studio in your writing place.
exactly. Like I just have this whole new respect and less expectation and just enjoying it. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I agree with you. Well, you've
Yeah.
got the right brain, my friend, the right mindset. It's all here and appreciate what you do, man. It's incredible. And I'm sure it's a huge workload.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, let's do this again sometime. We'll like check back in and do an
Yeah.
update. Yeah.
Let's do a fall update.
Yeah, man. Okay. Well, thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.